Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is John Boykin. I'm a member of the Georgia PGA section. I'm a life member of the PGA, and I appreciate very much all of you taking your time to join us this morning. We're going to talk about probably the hottest topic in golf learning these days, and that's the use of technology. There's so many different new technologies. There's so many technologies that have been upgraded, modified, and changed, and even renamed in some cases. It's hard to kind of keep up. So Clipped is a technology platform that is a partner with the Georgia PGA in our second year of doing that. I'm helping them get introduced to PGA professionals and college coaches across the country. And as part of this, Scott Gordon, and I, we all got together and said, look, let's try to do something at this annual, the annual meeting and also this merchandise show to help you as PGA members to understand better what some technologies are, maybe how to use them, and what their mission is. But let me make clear the mission of this program, it's not educational. This is the exchange of ideas and information. All of you are just as important as the four people sitting up here. We're going to talk about experiences, and we want you to exchange, to give us some of your experiences when it comes to technology and golf learning. So please don't hesitate to ask a question or to share an experience, and kind of that's what we'll do. So let me first introduce the panel. This is John Halpern, who manages Clipped U.S. operations. Nate Hairgrove is the director of sports for OnForm. Tim DeJarlais is the East Coast management for Foresight Sports. And I'm certain most of you know Bruce Heppler, the men's golf coach at Georgia Tech. Bruce coming off of his 19th ACC championship. Won the region by like 15 shots and then made it to the finals of the NCAAs. He's just returning late last night from a trip with the team, so we're going to let him wake up a little bit. He's so kind to be with us. Thank you. So again, the topics are going to be pretty simple. And while we've got some questions here, you know, we'll probably go a little off script maybe with some of these questions because having different technologies and different people involved always kind of changes things up a little bit. So we're going to start with the topic being the challenge of identifying and recruiting of new students. So what I want to first of all start with is, John, in helping people understand what's the best way to recruit new students and get students involved in what you're doing, how would you suggest that using technology can help with that?
Yeah, thanks, John. First of all, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate everyone being here this morning. I think being a thought leader and being someone who's very credible is actually the best way to attract new customers. It's different for people that are running country clubs that have their own kind of established marketplace in essence. But those that are recruiting new players all the time or new students all the time, I believe being able to communicate what is cutting edge, what is best for your program, and being able to attach the elements of your program and how you teach to the technology that you're deploying, and kind of back and forth. And if you're able to make a very concise and clear statement relative to that, I think it comes across as very credible, and your technology will be treated as tools as part of bringing the best of what you can to your students. I think that's the best way to recruit new customers.
Nate, what would you suggest again? OnForm is a platform that you guys use video and video recordings and stuff. How does that help an instructor who might be using that technology show the enhancement of their credential?
From the instructor's perspective, the enhancement of theirs? So video is nothing new to this group right here. I mean, we've got cameras everywhere. We're all used to it. OnForm sees it a little bit differently because it's the organization of all the video. We're helping you not get off of just your iPhone recording it that way, but able to store it in the cloud. All of your athletes can very easily, quickly grab those videos, share it with parents, And then on the other side of that with the recruiting, it's the social media side. I know the younger generation is all over social media, and they want to post their videos, they want to post what they're doing, and that's a fantastic, I mean, Coach knows this probably better than anyone, of just what you're looking at and where your kids are and where they're at on social media, and they're looking at their videos and swings, and that's, I think that's one of the best ways is to help recruit, is just give them that platform to post.
Tim, certainly a big step in golf learning and using technology in golf learning was the introduction of launch monitors. How has your experience with both your former firm and also now with Foresight, Tim's fairly new with Foresight, how have you seen that has helped this audience recruit new players?
Yeah, well, again, thanks. My former company that I was with was Swing Catalyst, so if you're familiar with that, video and sensor plates. And just came to Foresight in January this year, so fairly new. Kind of to go off of John a little bit about just the tech side of things. To get people over to Foresight, what Foresight has done is they have an Up Next program. It's for juniors to try to get them involved with the technology, and I think that that's from the Foresight is just to get it, recruit players in from a very young age. So I think that that's the biggest factor is just getting it into the players' hands, get the experience, and even for yourselves with launch monitors as well, just to get it in your hands and then recruit from the expertise that you guys have.
Bruce, the biggest part of your life is the recruitment of your players. And I wonder, and I bet this audience wonders, in the process that you go through in recruiting players, how important is technology and the use of technologies, the group of technologies that you have at your facility there? How important is in a discussion with them recruiting a kid, a new player, how important is that in that discussion?
Well, they certainly want to see the things that they've used before they get to our place, that they're on site. Probably don't use them significantly in the actual recruiting process. Really don't go get numbers from somebody while they play or whatever. My philosophy has been to, you just got to go find somebody that wants to beat somebody. And obviously your fundamentals and all that stuff really, really matter. But again, obviously once they get to our place, when they come through on their visits, it gets to be a bit of certainly a dog and pony show. But if they've used whatever technology, they want to see that at your place. And if you don't have it, it's probably going to be a problem. Sometimes I think we do things just for recruiting. And maybe not for the benefit of them improving once they get there. But it's certainly become an everyday conversation. And the younger and younger they go, the more and more companies who make stuff available to them through different programs. It's everybody's got the stuff. So you better have it when they get there.
Yes, sir.
How many different types of technology do you have?
I mean, it's force plates to putting labs to all that stuff, and I guess there's the phrase of I can't remember it. It's master of none or whatever. I will tell you that from our standpoint, I'm a dinosaur, and I've got a lot of things that I need to do during the day, and so to try to be able to master what you all do, not to offend anyone. I think there's a big difference between a golf coach and a golf professional who teaches people how to play, and I think when they start mingling in each other's business, that becomes a problem. So my personal opinion is that to teach somebody, you need to do that all day long. For me to dally in stuff, I have never found a malpractice insurance policy for giving lessons. If they're out there, I would love to buy one. So we typically try to recruit young people with reasonably good fundamentals. Our season started 2 weeks ago. It ends in June. They play amateur golf in the summertime. When would I really try to make a major change or do something? There's not time. And so second set of eyes, work with whoever their teacher is, trade video back and forth, and be on the road to see stuff. That to me is your job, because you have the time to master putting labs and launch monitors and force plates and all of that stuff. We actually put in our hitting bays, went down to the Floridian, put in this beautiful benches for y'all to sit behind that you would give lessons to all day long. We just ripped them out because that's just not what our experience is. You know, they use their phone, the V1 stuff. We don't use it anymore. We put all the cameras and all this stuff in, and it just isn't. It was made for a place, someone who teaches professionally like you all do. And so it's important, but I can't master all of that stuff like you do because I don't have all day long to do that. So we rely heavily on the people they've worked with before they come to be able to do those things. A lot of them have been taught how to use those things. You can go as deep in a launch monitor as you want to the point of where you can bound yourself up pretty good. But it's certainly, there's so much that you can learn. There's so much value. We've actually picked up a couple things of Foresight last year and would travel everywhere we go because of altitude changes and weather stuff changes. And literally, you used to see it just on the range. Now I got guys walking around hole by hole in the practice round because now the lies are different. It's not just on a flat piece of grass and you're in San Diego or you're in Arizona or we were in Colorado. So it certainly makes adjusting to wherever you go easier. But I personally, the teaching to you all and the mastering of all of those different technologies, it's too much for one person to do with the other stuff I have on my plate.
Yes, sir.
How'd the team finish and did Crystal hold on to the lead?
We ended up with about 4 inches of rain in 2 hours and warmed up in it, and then they decided we weren't going to play, so he did end up winning, and we ended up finishing third. So, yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
It's been a big year for Christopher Lambrick.
It's a big
British
year
amateur
for a
champion.
really tall guy, yeah.
This is where I want to get you guys involved, guys and gals. Please share an experience, some of you, of how your technology use, the multiple technology you might use, has elevated your credential, your standing, your status amongst your peers. Because we all know that we have, as PGA members, we have master PGA professionals and certified PGA professionals. And back in the day, some of us can remember when you became a PGA professional, you were either a Class A or a Junior A. Now we have categories 1 through 97 or whatever it is. But there's bound to be, somebody please share it with the panel, with also we can all learn about how maybe the use of technology has improved or enhanced your recognition amongst not only your students and your club, but amongst your peers. Anybody got an example of that they'd like to share with us? Please, sir.
Social media. Well, it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. Not TikTok's for the young kids, but it's huge. It's a great deal for me.
And in that social media, do you discuss that you use these different technologies or you use these different, terrific. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on then. Learning technologies and how to use them takes a great deal of time. I guess if anything I've learned over the last 18 months working with these multiple technologies in different forums and formats, the word that comes up over and over again is time. I mean, you're all busier than you've ever been. I guess golf was the only ecosystem that saw the end of COVID as not a good thing. We all got very, very busy the last couple of years. So it takes time now to invest in learning about a new technology and how to use it. So before I come to you, I'm going to ask the people on the panel, Tim, what are some ways that you're able to help PGA members and coaches to become more quickly acclimated with technology?
Yeah, well, speaking on behalf of Foresight, one thing that Coach talked about too is you can take it anywhere and you pop it down, and you said that you don't have time to really get to know all the software and everything involved with it. And even today I spoke with Donna, is it Donna? Is that right? Yeah, and just showed her like how easy it is. And basically all the information is displayed right on the LCD panel. So you can just pop it down, they hit a shot, you see it right there. So there's not a lot of education behind that because all the data is right there in front of you. So with the Foresight product, if you haven't seen it before, don't know much about it, you don't need a tablet, you don't need your phone, you don't need software, you can just use it just as the technology is. So you don't have to be scared about it because again, they hit a shot and you get the distance and spin rates right on the unit itself.
Okay. Nate?
Ours is pretty easy. We're a video analysis app, so if you've ever taken a video, we save time pretty quickly by just point and shoot and record. But from the time savings perspective, it's the sharing from a coach to the instructor back at home very quickly. And we've taken it another step further where you don't actually have to send it. It can automatically be sent. You can say, John's my athlete, and as soon as he takes a swing, it can be shared to John and John's coach immediately. So saving you time from the text, the download, the delete it from your device, the space and all of that. We've thought through all of that. And then just being able to draw lines quickly. That's important for coaches to say, here's your, I'm not even going to try, but wherever your lines and angles you want always to be seen, they're right there, and you can very quickly manipulate those as needed. And that's what we've heard. We built the app for coaches and then by coaches, so we listened to our coaches, and they said, man, it'd be great if you could do. And I very quickly run back to our development team and say, can we do this? And hopefully a few minutes later it's done. So we're trying to give you time back, really, or allow you to do what you do best, and that's not fumble around on a phone. I mean, unless you're really good at it.
John, we've heard over the last 18 months, you and I both, in a lot of these situations where technologies can get very complicated to learn and take time to learn. I know that you've been instrumental in working with coaches in the various PGA sections about getting feedback to developers. How has Clipped and the other technologies you've learned about, have they taken steps to make this easier?
Yeah, I think any good technology has the ability to transform marketplace a little bit. And most importantly, transforming marketplace requires people to easily adapt it, right? So as a data analytic platform, and we've taken great lengths to look at your time management. And one of the biggest things we found was preparation prior to lesson and preparation at night, and what are my players up to, and how are they defined as a player? And then ultimately, how are they best to transform that into what do I really work on when I'm at the practice stage? So, or the lesson tee. So all of our focus has been around how do we make that as easily understandable and as easily as engageable as possible. And I think our partners here also have tools that you can really start making quicker assessments, quicker decisions. Technology allows you to, instead of those, and I've seen coaches with them, those lengthy books of records on all of their players, as opposed to having it in one organized place. And it's kind of no different than also using Excel or to organize our shopping lists or whatever it is. The technologies are now designed to condense your time and make your time with your people more purposeful and more meaningful. And we do that through statistics, and we do that through learning from data, and we deliver back very actionable pieces. But my partners here as well give you tools to make assessments in much more condensed time, which we believe makes everyone more effective and hopefully gives you the ability to make more money. So that's what we're focused on. We're not perfect, but that's the journey that we're taking as a technology company.
Thanks. Bruce, when you're now that your kids back on campus, and I know that you use some of the technologies, you and Devin, because you discuss it. How does that help you with saving time in terms of practice plans for your team?
Yeah, I think that the advantage is you can just get to, I think most of the time you can get the answers faster as to what you need to be doing. Right now, we use the clip just for one of the statistics program. And so obviously we play 5 guys right in a row. So if you're the 5th guy, you got plenty of time to enter your stats in. But literally by the time we leave the golf course on the road, and before dinner's over, they're all in there. It's all there. We can look at them at night. Obviously not going to make a bunch of changes in the tournament, but to have those things that are just to access those so quickly, whether it's a launch monitor. I mean, I know y'all have great eyes and y'all are great teachers, but sometimes just having some information to diagnose where the problem is quicker. Again, that goes back to saving time. I mean, you can sit out there and try to figure it out, and y'all are way better at figuring out than we are, because that's what you do all day long, is figure that stuff out. But I think to getting to answers quicker, things to work on. Now we have a team ranking, we have statistics, everybody, and you and I, the conversation we had about statistics is You used to get them, and they'll have little Johnny come in and let's have a conversation about your game. And all of a sudden, you got these terrible putting stats and can't drive it in the fairway. And all of a sudden, we were just reinforcing all the negative. No matter how you try to present that. With what we have and who we use, the stuff is there for them to evaluate themselves. So you're not reaffirming. An example of this is most parents, when they come see us, well, are you going to teach so-and-so course management? Because he's a terrible decision maker. And once we think he begins to make better decisions, then he'll may become a better player. And typically the answer is really probably not. My way to teach people to make better decisions is to have more than 5 good players. So the guy who can't make a good one, he's home for a while until he figures out that this is not working. But an example of what teaching golf, for one, in this area is, and using statistical stuff is, first tournament of the year used to be up at the farm. Everybody's probably been up there. 15th hole, par 5, creek down the right, reachable. And so their first college event ever, they're there in the middle of the fairway first round, and they've got 245 over water. Now that's like a 6-iron where it used to be a 3-wood back in the day, but he hits the ball in the water. So out of trying to be helpful at the end of the round is, hey, what were you thinking? What was your decision there? Well, what I have done as his teacher or coach is every time he has 245 over water for the rest of his career, and he knows I'm anywhere on the property, he's afraid I might see this again, and then we're going to have a conversation about that again. So I've climbed in every par 5 he's ever going to play, again, for the rest of his career. And so that's where you think you're helping, but you're not helping. So this is where, instead of, we have a couple guys whose wedges aren't very good or whatever, we don't have grab that one person and have a wedge practice. We do team stuff so that we're not identifying anyone or making them feel like they're not good at something. It's the typical guy who can't shoot free throws. Now we're going to get 3 people to help him. And before you know it, everybody in the arena knows we've got 3 people helping him. And it just gets worse and worse and worse because we pointed out a flaw. And it's the one sport that I've found you can't teach it directly. You almost have to teach it indirectly, or you add to the problem. And so by using the stuff that we have, we're able to present them with things that they have no idea if it was for them or not, or if it has anything to do with the personal shortcomings that they may possess. Because I've never found any value in pointing out someone's shortcomings directly, unlike any other sport you would just address. But because you have 15 seconds, 15 minutes to think about the next one before you hit the next one, all those conversations can lead into a really, really bad place. So we use the stuff to be able to have a group thing rather than an individual thing. And without being able to gather this information, we wouldn't be able to do that. Long answer.
Can I ask a question of Coach?
Sure,
John?
sure.
Coach, in all the technology, that's a very important point. Like, is it the technology actually allows the player to come to you with a greater understanding of who they are, right? As opposed to coach telling them who they are, which sometimes in your mind is not a great way to go about it. If they're a little bit self-knowing because they've used tools that give them some information, when they go to their swing coach or their skill coach or even their college coach, it's a healthier conversation often.
Well, I think at the end of the day, you have these young people who show up and I've got my team. Well, what does that mean? Well, I've got my nutritionist, got my strength coach, got my sports psychology guy, I've got my teacher. And what I witness is young people giving their power away. I'm good because I see you. Or I'm good because I eat right. Or I'm good because, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of the 18th fairway with a chance to win a golf tournament. You can't call any of them out from the audience to hit the shot for you. So that's where the ability to own some of this stuff and own knowing how to use the different technologies themselves rather than just being force-fed all the time. They have to think through, what does this path stuff mean? What is the face stuff? What is the spin? And so what it does, it really can, if they'll use it the right way, they'll become much more owners of the information than when they used to just be force-fed because only the teachers had the stuff and they would leave to come to us and not have the availability. I had a guy once tell me, and Stephen Hamlin will remember Mike Barbosa, and I won't tell you who's taking lessons from, but we got him to campus and he said, well, when you work with your teacher, what did the video look like? And he goes, well, he wouldn't let me look at the video. Yeah, this is a famous guy. I don't understand why you wouldn't try to explain to the young person what you were seeing in the video for self-help, other than he gets too good, he might not come back and pay us $500. But I think this technology stuff has allowed them to be way more informed and understand kind of what they're doing, so where they can actually take some ownership rather than just being walking around and being told what to do. There can be some self-help, some self-analysis, and that's where I think it's really, really helpful, is they can own their deal way more than they could in the past, I think.
Thanks, Coach. Again, I'm going to come back to the audience. Please, somebody share an experience where you decided to invest in a technology and maybe either the time it took you to get invested in it either scared you away, or you figured out a way to invest that time, and why would you invest that time? So please, somebody share with us an example of a technology they got started with, and what did it take to get you to invest that time? Anybody in here got an example of that?
I'll say I'm in the middle of it right now. I
Sure.
just bought Smart to Move 3D force plates. I feel like I'm back in physics class, trying to learn it. It's great information. Now, how do I take this information? How do I transfer that and get the player to do it? And then, of course, nobody else has that. The players don't have it. So, when they're practicing on their own, how do they know they're actually working on it the right way and doing it? And but why I did it? Because I thought that it would, give me a better understanding of how the body is moving and take my teaching to another level. And thought it was time. I did quite about a year of research on it before I pulled the trigger on it. So, and I'm still a little,
Yeah,
man, I hope I did the right thing here, because that's a lot of money.
yeah, my comment to that, first of all, it's an investment in you and also an investment in your future business. But if you have the ability to use the technology treat it as a tool, don't let the technology drive the way that you are conducting your business. You conduct your business, let the tool enhance what you're doing. Like, how does that fit into your philosophy of teaching golf? That once the technology tries to impose themselves on a marketplace, it really creates a lot of friction. So if you can use it in the way that suits you, and it may be different for A, B, and C and D around here, but I think that's an important lesson to be learned.
The technology on you. I don't use it every lesson by any means. There are some people that would get absolutely nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm just going to go in there and show it off because you have it.
Correct.
There's a time and a place for it for sure, but it's not every single session.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
if I could,
Don? I'm sorry.
I've got a real old story, because I'm older, but back when technology and sport tech came out, I had a friend down in Orlando who was pretty wealthy. He ended up buying it and putting it in his garage. It's about a $12,800 machine that tracked weight transfer and path and speed and things like that. It was way ahead of his time. It was a tremendous machine. But he wasn't using it, so I talked him into letting me have it. And I just made a few payments over the months. But anyway, I would use the sport tech, and it was very good at attracting attention. I would go and do corporate outings and things with it. But when I started teaching with it, it's like it almost got in the way. It was great at collecting the data and showing them what's wrong, that in the old days, what's wrong with their son, right? But I felt like it got in the way of actually making change, because they would just want to get on the machine. And so I used it as a sales device more than it is a teaching device. And I found that to be true with most technology, to tell you the truth.
Was somebody else going to comment?
I was just going to comment about the force plates being, I spent 15,
From that
15
world.
years with force plates, and I think the kind of light bulb that came off for me was working with Mike Adams, because Mike Adams, Hall of Fame golf instructor, doesn't really need technology. He's been doing his measurements and everything forever. But then when he saw the force plates, and actually he could verify of what I've been doing this whole time, now I can verify that this is the way to do it. So as long as you can verify you're a smart individual, if you can just verify some of those things, it just
You'll
can
start
take
to
it
see
forward.
patterns quicker. Like
Exactly.
Physics stuff, coach. I went to Georgia, so
I don't care if you went to MIT, man.
I've heard that joke before.
I'll have a private conversation with you about that.
that's a little tough.
Those force
Georgia,
plates look
Georgia
really
Tech.
nice as long as somebody else knows what they're doing with them. That's how I feel about it as well.
But like any technology, as long as it verifies, what you're working on. So.
So we touched a little bit on, Don just touched on about the investment you make in it, the investment you've made in it. Let me ask the panel up here. Buying new technologies, whether the club pays for it or the individual pays for it, there's a commitment there. Can you give us some examples or things that you've seen about how maybe somebody can make a judgment on what the potential ROI might be if they invest in a technology? John, you want to start with that?
Yeah, I think it's, you look at your roster of clients, you look at who that can be applied to, and can you improve engagement with that client through this process, right? So again, I'm in the data collection business, and I rely on folks like these to get data for us, right? And we have our own on-course data capture, but we find we're most effective when you can increase the amount of meaningful conversations you could have with your clients and give them a purposeful reason to come back to you. Like, hey, I just had this lesson last week. I started collecting some information and look at my trend line. Wow, maybe I should come back to this, to my lesson. And that's when you start determining ROI. If you can increase the frequency of your clients, or you could attract new clients, you could start thinking about a return on your investment, right? If you're just kind of having a better lesson and nothing's moving the needle, then it's not a good investment in technology. But increasing engagement, increasing conversation, maybe being able to distance learn or stay in touch with a client for a longer cycle or a longer period of time, those are the ways you can start measuring ROI.
I would add, I think the phrase is the juice worth the squeeze kind of a thing. And we've priced our technology very affordable. And for coaches to be able to utilize that and then an ROI conversation would be the remote learning, the remote coaching. So you're on the tee, you're giving the lesson, but then that player or whoever you're coaching may jump on a plane and fly out to play in a tournament, go on a business trip. You can very easily still connect with them through our app, through technology, and still charge them for a lesson. We have coaches do this all the time. On weekends when they're at home, they can very quickly analyze, do a voiceover, have their face on there, kind of like a coach's cam, show the movement they're trying to get their players into, send it right back to them through the app, takes them 10 minutes, they charge them for a full lesson, right? And it's kind of like, why wouldn't you? I mean, we all want time back, but when you're sitting at Starbucks with a cup of coffee, when you're in the car and someone else is driving, or in an airplane or something, and you have the time, it's like, why wouldn't you just fire off 4 or 5 of these, send them, and your return on investment is almost, it's not even really a conversation at that point. It's like, why didn't I do this a long time ago?
I'd be interested, how many people are in here are charging when they're just, because that is a wonderful thing. I almost used they send me too many videos, and the kids, they want to almost send you 2 a day. Like, how does it look today? And, you want to have that communication, but at some point you're like, I don't want you sending me videos every day of how it looks. Go play golf.
Right.
And, I'll see you next week, and we'll deal with it then. But, yeah, you could get, is anybody else charging for when people text you? Because I'm not charging. And sometimes I'm like, holy cow, like, I'll almost not respond for a couple of days just to let them know, hey, you're not doing this every day.
Well,
Are
from
you
our
charging for that?
well,
I mean,
what
I
I'm
love that
seeing,
people
what I'm
could
seeing
charge,
and
but-
hearing in coaches across the world are they'll set up different ways to do this. So you can only send me 2 videos per week, and then so it's not a.
I know
you're-
Skillus does some of that online stuff.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a lot of
But with this one, with any technology, you can set this up. I just did this with the coach over in the UK where he's setting up a completely different program where they would pay so much a month, and they get to send him 2 videos, and he analyzes those 2 videos for several $100s or pounds or whatever it is over there.
Is he doing that, or are you doing that for him?
No, he's doing that. It's completely on his own.
It's just programming the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, and it's helping, I've learned, it's helping golf coaches understand other ways to make money because you guys are so good at standing on, and I'm not trying to do, you stand there, you give an amazing lesson, you help them, you get paid. Like that's what you do so well. And we will pay a ton of money for you to help us. But why not leverage that in a shorter form and send me 2 videos. Here's how I want the video set up, face on down the line, at hand height, however you want to do that. And
For a monthly fee.
for a monthly fee of X number of dollars or per video. I've got a coach in Texas doing it per video. 1 video, $150. Right.
But before we move on, and we'll come back to this in a minute, about what technology has done to help all of us enlarge our footprint of business, as in remote teaching and global teaching, whatever you want to call it. But Tim, on to a much larger conversation, because the launch monitor business is a very expensive investment. What kind of things have you seen where people have used your tools or other ways to make an estimate or a judgment on whether to make that investment or not?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So with Foresight, they have the most popular GC Quad, but now they came out with a consumer one a few years ago, but even pros use it. It's retails for $7,500, and it's a versatile tool. Again, probably like your players are using it. Just take it out on the golf course. So it's a kind of a way in which you can create revenue is to rent it out. It doesn't have to sit on the driving range, so you can actually rent it out to people to take on the golf course. Like you said, different lies, different weather conditions, so they can learn from renting it out. So that's one thing. And then the second thing from the launch monitor perspective too, with us, it comes with simulator software. So during the evenings, certain events, you can run it as a golf simulator. And now we just partnered up with PinSeeker. It's basically gaming online. We find that the future in simulator business is going to be gaming. People want to bet, they want to gamble, they want to make some money. So the gaming side of it as well, which you could rent out or have a space at your club or facility where you could have a little indoor center. And it even with Foresight, it doesn't need a lot of room. You don't need 20 feet of space. You just need enough room to swing a golf club. So it doesn't take up a lot of room, and you can create extra revenue not only from the simulator side, the range lessons, renting it out, but then also gaming.
Bruce, twofold question for you. First one is the technologies that you're using now. Are you using that, and is it helping you keep kind of an eye on what your players are doing when they're not on campus, maybe in the summertime? And from another perspective, is the use of technology remotely helping you see some kids that you might be recruiting that you might not otherwise see? And I know Devin does a lot of that, but I'm sure you'll talk about it.
The thing we've struggled with statistics, which is the main thing we would use. It's a big part of what we do, is to find a way to get the feedback for them is simple enough and entertaining enough and clear enough. And that's why we've kind of partnered with my friend down here on the end, is their feedback that they get from them is much more relatable than the stuff that we used to get. It used to just be a battle, and the next thing you want to get into is you're going to get a workout in the morning if it's not. To force people to do stuff doesn't work anyway. You got the wrong people. But so we found with the statistics program that we're using now is they're more than willing to put this stuff in. So that's even carried over into the summertime. And so obviously our place stays open. The guys are through town as far as that. But as far as actually keeping an eye on them, probably only from a statistical standpoint. But our guys have then gone off in the summertime. They're very, very engaged in finding out what the truth is, and analyzing themselves, because I think they found a digital feedback that makes sense for them in a lot of ways that did not exist before. So I think that's where the company that we use, I think, at least for our guys, has made it interesting. As far as, I'm old school. I got to go watch a 15-year-old guy play. I've spent my life with Stephen Hamlin. Thanksgiving's away with Stephen Hamlin and the AJGA. For me, I've got to go watch somebody play to find out who they are. If we're going to open our door and you're going to be part of the family now, I got to see you have a really bad day. Everybody's a prince when they're 6 under. Like I actually have seen people who appear to be miserable under par, believe it or not. I don't know if that's a parental thing or where it comes from. But for us, really, recruiting doesn't take very long to figure out. I was told a long time ago, the ball doesn't lie. If it kind of starts where it aimed and it doesn't curve very much, then I'm not going to be overly concerned if it's a little across the line, a little laid off, because by the time it gets back down here, it's pretty good. But to watch them in a competitive environment is really critical for us. to see how someone's believe it or not, one of the biggest things we evaluate is their interaction with their parents. And if that's not good, I don't want any part of it. Mama and daddy have cleaned that dude's pants and cleaned his underwear and washed them. And if he's going to disrespect them, what's he going to do with the crazy old guy in downtown Atlanta? And so as far as, now we will typically take our phones along and shoot some video of what they're doing, just to maybe get some affirmation when we get home about some of the fundamentals and things, because again, you can't always see that with your eye. But till the day I die, it will be, let's go find out what this person's all about, and who can be 4 over through 5 and come back, who's willing to compete the entire time. Golf's hard. Y'all know it's really, really hard. And I just had a kid who Stephen knows, Carson Kim, who was probably a second or third ranked kid in AJJ when he signed at Southern California. His kid, they fired his coach 8 weeks ago. He's got to change. He's been going to go to Southern Cal for 2 years. He's from Southern Cal. And all of a sudden this thing upends. He doesn't decide he wants to go play for the new guy, so he looks around and he chooses us 6 weeks ago from Southern California. So he's got to move to Atlanta, visit these other places, and decides 4 weeks before school starting, where's he going to go to college. So again, this is 16, 17-year-old people. That's a lot for us adults to deal with, right? Your whole life has been changed over with socials, everything, all your friends. And he was going to have friends that were going to go to Southern Cal who weren't played on the golf team, but he was going to have friends. Come all the way here, he just finished last up there, and he's distraught, and you know, golf's hard. And that's where, you know, knowing the family, knowing the kid, I told his parents are losing their minds, like all of a sudden we're going to renege on his scholarship and send him back. Well, I'm not. You have to be an adult and understand what they're going through. But that's where watching and seeing who you really want to participate with. I believe there are 14 or 15 young men every year who, whether they go off to college, whether they get better or not, they're going to be very impactful. And sometimes you get on the outside of that little inner circle of those kids, and then it becomes who can come and do the right thing. As I tell them on their visits, they're not going to have to go in and kiss their mom on the cheek on a Friday night anymore and smell what's on their breath and all those kind of things. And you go from all that parental involvement to now we get 20 hours a week, and when they become a pro, it's all on them. And so you somehow in a summer, you try to determine who loves golf or who's doing it because it's just become what you do. And so for us, as far as analyzing that, that's as big as anything, because if someone loves it and you all have prepared them reasonably well fundamentally, now as it becomes more and more their decision, where they're spending their time, those who love the game with reasonably good fundamentals that y'all get them, they get better because it's more their deal than somebody else's deal. So that's why for us, watching them live, I mean, Nick Thompson, people get, why are you recruiting this guy? I mean, it's his fastest swing I've ever seen, and it was inside, but man, it went like this, and the guy made All-American 4 times, and he did his stuff he made at school. And so that's where, for me, not necessarily always recruiting what looks like he's going to be a tour player. I got to find somebody who wants to do some finite math and survey of calculus and some other stuff down there, and that's not for everybody. And so my deal is you have young people looking at going to college, fit is huge. And who they're going to spend their time with. I would encourage all of you, I know it's not what this is about, but you cannot allow any of your students to make a decision of whether they're going to go to college if they don't spend 2 days and be around the players in that program. I mean, even I can be somewhat cordial for a day and a half. And then I turn into the grumpy old guy, right? But you don't want them to be the salmon swimming upstream. They may not drink enough or they drink too little. I mean, all that stuff, what they're looking for is really, really important. There are coaching changes, but if they've found people to go to school with that are like them, you can even survive a coaching change. But if the only thing you see is this guy who seems really cool and you don't really engage with the rest of him and he leaves, or all of a sudden he doesn't turn out to be what he purported to be, then you got a problem. So the players, you need to make sure there's no drive-by commitments. the guy's not willing to have your students come and spend 2 days, then he really doesn't want your student. Can't express enough that we've been, I think, pretty good at a hard place, because I think we've found the right people to fit our program, and that's the great thing about the world is there's places everywhere that are different, coaches with different philosophies of how to go about stuff, and the fit is the most important thing for them to have a really good college experience.
Thanks, Bruce. I want to talk a little bit about, in the golf learning experience, questions on the use of technology both on and off course. So to our technologies up here, how is technology best used in the initial assessment of a student? And should a coach educate the value of technology in game improvement when they're doing that initial assessment? Tim, you want to start with that?
Not really, but
You want me to read it
Do you want me to
again?
start?
with the launch monitors, how many? Most of you probably have a launch monitor, so you probably have it as a initial to see where they're at, and then once they do reach where you're trying to get them, you set that as a benchmark. That's what I would think. That how you'd use the technology as far as the launch monitor side is just to benchmark them. Yeah.
I'd agree. Just from a video perspective, you're not really recording them when they're in a match, typically. And it's probably 95, 98% used during the lesson or on a practice tee or practice round or something like that. And so I think it's good for maybe a checkup through video, but it's just such a common thing to pull out your phone and grab a quick video real quick. It's easy, and there's definitely value as a coach. So you got a player out there playing in a tournament, mom and dad can record a video and send it to you. May not be the right angle or something, but at least you're going to get some sort of checkup during a tournament, during a match, during wherever they're playing. I think that's a powerful tool for a coach who's maybe back doing other things.
John?
Yeah, I think this is really right in my sweet spot a little bit. So we're in the business of collecting data and using that data to help you make decisions, which starts with how do you assess a player, what they're good at, what their weaknesses are, what their opportunities to improve are within their elements of their game. Technology has gotten to a place, very simply, it outpaces the human mind's ability to process information, right? In all walks of our life, right? Whether it be education, whether it be work, others. The machines have allowed us to get information that was not available to the human eye or the human brain. So at Click, we've built this sophisticated technology to get simple data in. It'll start defining who your players are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, so you can better deploy what practice and what purposeful practice they should be utilizing to get better. And that's, to me, and again, they're collecting information that is very valuable. The ability to make it sophisticated enough to be prescriptive on how you teach is kind of where this technology world is going. We can't teach. The technology cannot teach, right? Which is your strength. But it can provide you very valuable information on how best to deploy your time, and then being responsible to your student and showing them what I taught you and maybe what the correlation of results have been. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But at least we'll know. And that's what the technology is really going towards and really being helpful to this marketplace.
I'd love to hear from somebody in the audience that when you first bring in a student and you do, and I think as Tim just said a minute ago, everybody's got a version of a launch monitor, most everybody has, and so you get all the numbers. But share with us an experience where you have taken a student after doing that assessment and shared with them the value of the objective, not subjective, the objective data that they've presented to you when you've done that analysis. Anybody in here had an experience like that where they've taken a student and said, okay, this is why I use this technology. This is where it's data-driven. It's not my opinion. It's who you are. Anybody got an experience like that? Come on.
We use a launch monitor every day. I mean,
That's a
launch
great
monitors,
example.
I don't think you're over the top, or it doesn't look like, here's the numbers. It doesn't lie. So, it's good that you can see that, but 1 or 2 degrees you can't see a lot. Not that it really matters that much, but if I had a guy yesterday, he was minus on the track, we use TrackMan, but he was minus 12 on an iron. He was wondering why. All I do is hit big pulls or pull slices. I'm like, yeah. Now that's an easy one for us because we just, you can get him even close to it, and he gets better in a hurry. But then again, I will say that he doesn't have a TrackMan, or maybe we can afford, if we get on the on the list there, we can get him a launch monitor a little cheaper. But none of them have that. So as instructors, we got to. All right, how do you take this information that we're giving? How do you know if you're actually improving or not at home? We use noodles a ton and some alignment sticks and all kind of aids because they don't have TrackMan to know, or Foresight to know that they're getting better. So that's the other thing is, like, how do you take this technology they probably don't have, and how do you let them know if they're actually improving? Because it can't be, I feel like I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'll answer that a little bit. I think it's, if you can start marking time, like if you're seeing this customer once a month or once every other month, this is the only sport that I know of that people take a lesson and they expect the next day to be a whole different player. I don't care what sport you play, basketball, tennis, soccer, hours and hours of practice actually go into getting better, but you're putting them on the right path, right? So again, not everyone wants to practice, not everyone cares enough to practice, right? And they love seeing their pro because it makes them feel good. It's almost like seeing your financial advisor. It's fun, whatever, thank you. I don't really want to deal with this on a daily basis. But for those that do, if you start marking in time of where their data is and where their collections is on Foresight or whatever, you could start showing them and like, here's what you need to do over the next 30 days to improve your ball striking, and you need to spend this many hours over this 30-day period. And I tell you, I almost promise you, if we do that and we practice the right way, you will see incremental progress. And I'll be able to show you incremental progress through the technology, just like instead of saying, oh, wow, look at the ball flying, that looks really good. You can actually show them what their objective ball striking is through a tool like Foresight. Or you can show them through their video analysis, are they better aligned when they're in their backswing? Because they've practiced and you're giving them some prescription to go do that. This stuff we just measure, right? And we deliver some guidance on how to. We don't teach. And I think we're your tools. We're not your alternative. We are part of what you need to do. There's no other business in this world where you're ignoring technology, right? There's no way that PGA teachers could ignore technology any longer. We will become irrelevant. We will. The younger generation demands it, just the way it is. And they're tools that can help you do better, can actually improve how you teach and how your players perform.
I'll make a quick comment. Do you think, too, golf is pretty expensive. Thank goodness we get to charge a pretty good fee. My wife's a tennis instructor at the club as well, and she doesn't charge what I charge for a lesson. So, but because of that, we need this technology to somewhat validate the prices that we're charging. It's going up, and nobody says a word, but we're able to use all this technology rather than just stay on the range like we used to.
Well, that's leading right into kind of my last question, and then we'll get a quick comment from everybody. A stated goal of the use of technology in golf learning is it helps golfers get better faster. Is it working? And let's just start, John, from what you've seen and what you know about the data from feedback from the professionals, what are you seeing?
I deal largely, just to qualify, I deal largely in the performance space. So we're very large in college golf, and we're lucky to work with guys like Coach Heppler and stuff like that. And I'm really engaged in the junior marketplace. Those that use technology on a regular basis, coupled with good instruction and good coaching, are getting better faster. If you have the ability to practice what is most correlated to what you do well, you will get better faster. And we're actually having anecdotal evidence that that is true. If you have a customer that uses our stuff and doesn't practice, he ain't getting better faster. It's just reality. It's not getting any better faster. But if you're interested in getting better faster and you use technology as opposed to not using technology, you will get better faster.
That's easy for us. I mean, we're visual. I think most of us are visual people, visual learners of some sort. It may not be, my wife's a school teacher, so I know there's multiple ways to learn, but if I can tell you your shoulders are closed and your stance is open and you think, no, I'm not, you're crazy, you can use an alignment rod and they can still think that they're parallel, but as soon as they see it from a different angle, face on down the line, over the top, something like that, then it's like an aha moment for them. And then they can review it again, and then you teach them how to use the technology. Set it up here when you're at home and record your own video. Draw the line like I've showed you how to draw it, and is it helping you? And I mean, you guys know this. That's how we learn. I can see it. If I can see it, I hopefully can change it.
Tim?
Yeah, to go off your point about, was it 12 left? I think that in trying to get people, is it making people better? I think that people learn different ways. One's audio, one's visual, one's feel. Just have that person, rather than saying anything, just tell them, hey, get the number closer to 0. And they'll figure it out. And that's one way to help
Kids
them.
especially.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything, because sometimes by saying too much, it puts too much in their head. Just get the number. With our product, it just provides numbers. There's no video or anything, and just say, hey, we want to get that number closer to this, and they'll eventually figure it out.
Bruce, using data as you have, and you and I had this conversation now almost 2 years ago when we started talking about the use of data and how you guys would use it. In using data, have you seen rapid incremental improvement in your players?
Yeah, again, it goes back to the care factor, who really is interested in getting better, for sure. I want to make one comment about this whole trend thing. That's the one thing that the program that we get to use, there's trends in it. You can follow the trends. And there's also a section where you can write down your activities. You find out those who really care enough to keep track of that stuff. So then you can go back, when I was good, when it was great, what was I doing in the months leading up to that or the weeks leading up to that? So obviously that takes a lot of care and concern, but it's great to have the data, but the trends part of it is there's stretches, and as you know, nobody plays well all the time. But for our guys to go back, and again, it's a time thing, we encourage them to journal. What did I do today? When it creates, it goes back to, Nick Saban has made millions of dollars on the word "the process." He was using it before he was even born. But it's to go back to the data allows you to keep track of the process, and you can monitor the process, and then that's where you build your self-esteem. It's like I tell our guys in the morning, we lift really hard, and it's Olympic lifting, and it's everything that you wouldn't have touched 30 years ago. We don't have injuries. I've got 2 guys now with 190 ball speed. They get stronger, they get faster, they get better. But as I tell them when they leave the gym, if that's all you got out of that, you got about 20% of the value. You need to walk down that hallway and go, you know what, when we play X, their guys weren't up, they're not making this commitment. When we stick it in the ground, I'm going to beat that guy because I put more into this than them. And that's where the data collection can build your self-esteem, because that's the business that I think I'm in. You're in the business of teaching fundamentals. I'm in the business of creating self-belief. As you know, some of them are born with it. Can't get rid of it. Others struggle to have that. And so that's where keeping track of things, following things, allows them to begin to believe in themselves, because they know I'm doing more than you are. I was around the whole Tiger Woods deal. Was out west, saw every shot he hit in 4 U.S. juniors. I watched his relationship with he and his father. The one thing we don't maybe approve of everything that Earl Woods did, certainly. But the one thing he did do, I do believe, is he convinced his child that nobody was putting more into this than you are. And when you two meet, you will win because you put more into it. And that's where being able to collect this stuff and use this stuff in your process, and if you can document that and keep track of that stuff, then someone can grow in their belief while they're growing in their skill set. And it's really, really critical. And that's what some of the stuff that allows them to do, is to have that information to record, keep track of. And as you see, it's like in the weight room. The guy walks in, the bar's, for those of you on the bar's 45. I can promise you when a young man comes to us who's never lifted anything, and the big circles are 45, so that puts 135 on there, I can promise you. When a guy throws that up for the very first time, that's no different than hitting better wedges, because all of a sudden he's achieving things. One of our deals is to try to create that golf is what you do. It's not who you are. And so as they can have success in other areas of their lives, whether that's school or a girlfriend or the weight room or whatever, that's belief. And as you can create activities and reward them for keeping track of stuff, make them know you appreciate their commitment because they journal stuff, or they go back and look at their trends and sit down with you and go over this stuff, I promise you that can create as much improvement as changing the path a little bit or the swing plane. Because at the end of the day, my observation of 40 years of high-level golf is the most important thing a dude can do is believe. Committed to wrong is better than uncommitted to right. It may not be a 6-iron, but if you think it is, your body might figure out how to make it a 6. And if you don't think it is, it's the wrong club. So all of these things, I think, are able to develop belief and allows them to gain greater ownership of the process themselves rather than being force-fed from teachers. When I first started this, it was like the kids didn't dare ask a question. Nobody explained to them why they were doing what they're doing, and that doesn't happen as much anymore. And so I think your profession is doing a much better job of creating ownership and belief. So thank you for what you do, and yeah, it's all great stuff.
Thanks, Bruce. I want to end this by saying something. You know, I'm very proud as a PGA member to have, these last couple of years, I mean, there are several in this room that know me pretty well, and the words data scientist coming out of my mouth, people would look at me and say, who are you? What have you done with John? Believe me when I tell you that my last 2 years have proven to me one thing very valuable, is that all these technologies only work when we're involved. It's our technique teaching. It's our ability to assess the data they give us. The combination of those two is power. And it's the power to get our students to be better, faster. So I want to thank all the members of the panel. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much.